Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com for more info. Email me at benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcast because People of Distinction is a nationally and internationally syndicated show because of listeners like you. Our shows are available across all major podcast distributors as well as YouTube. And if you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. We appreciate the support. Continue to like and follow and sit back and strap in because on the line with us today, we have Kenneth R. Trester. We're going to be discussing his amazing book, Investing in an Era of Power, Control, and Corruption. Now, it's available for purchase through Amazon as well as barnesandnoble.com. People, pretty much wherever books are sold online. But if you want to gather everything that Ken has in store, and I mean everything because Ken has a lot in store. In addition to this book, he has 4 other titles that he has written. Check out his personal site, and that's optionplayer.com. There, you're going to find more information on Ken, more information on this fantastic book, as well as find the hyperlink set up to take you to the purchasing pages for all 5 of his titles. Once again, that's optionplayer.com. And before we go any further, I'm going to quickly point out that Ken was brought to our network today by Quipper Prints. So for my writers out there who have gone through their process creating their masterpiece and now you need help moving the book you developed. You know, people, you already know what you got to do. It's Quipper Prints, man. I'm telling you, this is what they specialize in. Head on over to quipperprints.com today. Gather all the ways that their fantastic team is going to help move your creative endeavors, and you can thank me later. Ken is someone that you need to know. All right. Remember the name Kenneth R. Trester. His book, Investing in an Era of Power, Control, and Corruption, is just that. It is a guide. It is an educational resource when it comes to investing in today's time. We all know about investing. We see the commercials. We get the messages through our email, right? Through our social media accounts. But what does it take exactly? Well, listen, it's a very confusing thing if you're not sure where to begin. Well, Ken's got it all figured out for you, okay? We're going to be talking specifically about investing in options. Amongst a whole host of other things, this book is going to give you detailed information on how to invest in options with little money down to maximize your overall returns. I'm telling you, you want to earn some extra cash, this is the book you need to get. It's the precipice of so much. And at the end of the day, who better to explain it all than Ken himself? Sit back, strap in, and also have your notebooks ready. Ken, first and foremost, man, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing fine, Benji.
Well, Ken, listen, man, we're looking forward to this. I think what you've done here is something impactful. Now, I know you got a lot of knowledge with regards to this field, man. This is your background. This is what you have done for decades now. Before we go into the book, let's start off with that background. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay. Well, I was a professor of computer science and of business, and I've taught at several colleges, including Fresno State and Golden West College, and I started trading options in 1973, the day that it opened. In other words, the day that the exchange opened. Mm-hmm. And I've been writing and doing a newsletter since then for 50 years, basically. And that's where my background started. And I found options to be fascinating and very lucrative. That's what I've been teaching over the years. Yeah. I've done a lot of conferences, spoke at a lot of conferences, including in the Soviet Union. So I've been everywhere as far as training goes.
Absolutely. Look, people, I told you, Ken is the man. When it comes to investing, when it comes to knowing about options, This man has more knowledge than most, all right? Let's start off at the ground floor. There's a lot of information we're going to cover here today, Ken. But first and foremost, in what ways do options differ from other investment vehicles? And what unique advantages do they offer to investors?
Well, options are a side bet on a stock, in other words, or even commodities such as gold and silver. It's a side bet, and it's either a bet that it's going to go up, which is called a call, or it's a bet that it's going to go down, which is called a put. And so you want to be looking at those two kind of methods of betting on what is going to happen with a stock or an option or a commodity.
Yeah.
And so therefore, that's the way you start, okay?
Absolutely.
And what I found over the years is that you can make very, very small bets that can be show very, very large gains. For example, I once recommended an option for $6, and that's $6 like the cost of a cup of coffee. And for that amount, you can control 100 shares of stock. And in the case that I did this, the stock went from $6 to $1,800. So you can make fantastic gains at times. And that's one way of doing it.
Mm-hmm. Ken.
Now, the other thing I do is I do what is called option writing, which means that I'm taking the bet instead of making it. In other words, you can be the house, you can be the casino, and take money as you wait for stocks to either fall in price or rise in price. And that's called option writing. And you can make probably about positions usually win out about 85% of the time. So there's ways of doing these things. But you got to do a little homework in the process.
Yeah.
But everybody can get involved, especially if you want to buy very cheap options.
Ken, I'm curious, man. You, of course, are a wealth of knowledge, but this knowledge could have stayed in your brain, right? It could have stayed as something you verbally just told those around you. Why did you take it a step further and write this book for the masses? Well,
because for one thing, I was a college professor, so I've been educating for my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is that, I found it to be a very valuable asset. So therefore, I try to emit that to the general public, basically, through my books.
Ken, right there in your title of your book, you're talking about investing in today's time, right? In an era of power, control, and corruption. And I do think that it is very poignant that you chose to articulate it this way. Well, from a reader's perspective, what does one do in this environment?
Okay, well, this is not a good environment for the United States. We are in a kind of a downward movement in our economy, and the problem is that you got to try to take positions that are not at risk, where you're not risking a lot of money, because you never know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
And so that is what I try to do in our economy, which is actually a republic. U.S. has 50 states, that makes them a republic. But the republics of the past, I would say almost all those republics last on average only 240 years. We're now in the 248th year of our republic. And like I said, our direction is to the downside. Now, we can correct it, but right now it does not look good.
Yeah.
So you want to be investing in positions where you don't have a lot of risk, but you still have the chance for a lot of reward at the same time. That's what you're going for. And that's why we use, like I say, options is the way to do it. Again, there's ways of either buying options very cheaply or writing or selling them like a casino would do and showing profits of around 85% of the time. But again, you have to be very, very careful not to take very big risks. You always want to make sure that you have ways of preventing yourself from taking a big risk, and that's where options come into play. And also that's when stops come into play. You should always have stops in everything you do where you can get out at any point in time, especially when you start to incur a loss of some kind.
Yeah. People, the book is called Investing in an Era of Power, Control, and Corruption by Kenneth R. Trester. Head on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, his personal website, optionplayer.com, to gather all the ways that this book is going to help change your life. And I promise you, that's not an embellishment. This book has the opportunity to really change your life. If you pick it up and you're able to really harness the information that is given, this is a game changer. In addition to this, there are 4 other books available for purchase through his site. Make sure you check them all out. Ken, you talked about a second ago, you want to have an average return of about 85%, right? You want to have an average turnover and success rate of 85%. Listen, I love that number. Right? That is fantastic.
Yes, that's right. That's the unusual thing.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I'm curious about it, man. Give us the secrets to the sauce. What is your investment approach?
Well, my investment approach is to not be the buyer as much as be the seller, which means you take the bet instead of making the bet. And with options, you can do that. And with options, because you're not buying the stock right off the bat, you're just writing an option, waiting for the stock to fall in price where you can get a really good price. But at the same time, most of the time, you will never get that price, but you will get the proceeds, or what we call it, the premium, in the option writing position, so that you make money almost all the time, and once in a while you lose. But you want to use a stop to make sure that you don't lose very much if that occurs. So that's the key to option writing, or what we call option selling. And then that's one of the ways you can go this. But on the other hand, you can always take the cheap way to this option playing game, and that is to buy very cheap options. And options can go for as little as $5 for one option, and that option will control 100 shares of a stock. So that's a chance of making a very big profit with a very small investment.
Yeah.
And that's what we call option buying, but with really cheap options. Okay, so you want to be trying to look for option positions that are either very cheap or have a very high probability of winning.
Mm-hmm. Ken, follow-up question here, man. I love what you're talking about, and this is a layered conversation. So people, you got to purchase the book. There's only so much we're going to be able to discuss here in this short time frame. But I know that when it comes to
You're right.
When it comes to certain currencies, for instance, all right, listen, everybody knows about gold and silver. That's been around forever, right? But now we start to see this new digital currency that's on the market that is causing a whole wave, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that are investing in Bitcoin and these other type of cyber currencies here. Well, I'm curious, Ken, talk to our listening audience. What kind of currency should one invest in?
Well, they should invest in something that has some value. And cyber currencies do not have any value. Now they can say that we got computer programs that are making it more valuable. It is not. You're circling yourself around nothing. There's nothing there. And so you want to be you do not want to be entering the cyber security market, but everybody's going wild on it. Yeah. So it is a great, big Ponzi scheme, okay? Because in the end, these are worthless objects, basically. But because, if you refer back to the tulip era of hundreds of years ago, where tulips were very valuable because they were considered a currency, well, cyber securities are the same way. They have no value. They're just air. You're just betting on air, and you're playing with air. So if you're buying cyber securities, you're playing a Ponzi scheme. And eventually that Ponzi scheme will run out.
Absolutely. Oh, well, listen,
so be very careful not investing, and do not invest in cyber security stuff.
There you have it.
And, that's becoming quite a controversial statement because there are now so many places where you can buy cyber securities and people are making money off, but basically it is a phony security.
Yeah. There's a lot happening here. There's a lot of information that you're going to need to educate yourself on. And that's really where I want to go. To close out of this interview, Ken, In addition to your book, right? Because again, your book is offering so much information and we thank you for that. But how do you suggest individuals educate themselves further about options trading beyond the information provided in your book?
Well, you just reading the book will really help because we have a tutorial in the book on what options are and how to play with them, and that's what you really want to be playing with. So you want to and try to get into options because that's the safest way to get into the stock market.
The education is real. All right. You know where you got to go. I'm going to say it for you again, even though I know I don't have to. The majority of you have been clued in. You're listening. You are heading on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, optionplayer.com. You are going through the process of purchasing your copies as we speak. For everyone else, listen, man, you're living under a rock. You need to wake up or you're going to get passed by. The book is called Investing in an Era of Power, Control, and Corruption by Kenneth R. Trester. This is one you need to add to your shelf. Let's educate ourselves, and in the process, let's all become a little richer because of it. This is a fantastic book to add to your shelf, and even better gift to add to someone else's. Head on over there today, pick up your copies, and get lost in it. Ken, this has been a true pleasure, man, an absolute honor. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Okay, thank you, Benji.